Hey, beautiful people. Today we will take a look at your hematology. Please note that your hematology is a major course and it is a board exam subject. It is a board exam subject. And in the curriculum, your hematology is divided into two. You have hematology 1 and hematology 2. Under hematology 1, this one, it deals with the study of the concepts of blood as a tissue because your blood, it is a liquid connective tissue. Other than that, in hematology 1, you will take a look at the formation of blood as well as metabolism of your cells, laboratory assays, correlation with pathologic conditions, and special hematology evaluation are included in hematology 1. Aside from that, quality assurance and quality control in the hematology laboratory as well as bone marrow studies are also included in the course. Anyhow, your hematology, please note that your hematology is the study of blood as well as your blood forming organs and blood disorders. Okay, that is a short definition or a brief definition of your hematology. Again, your hematology is the study of blood, blood forming organs, and blood disorders. Yes, again, for hematology, it deals with the diagnosis, the treatment, and prevention of diseases affecting the blood, affecting the bone marrow, and the lymphatic system. And as what we said earlier, your hematology is divided into two courses. You have your hematology 1 and hematology 2. Again, under hematology, we will learn about your blood and its components, the cells. Aside from that, you will assess hemostasis and coagulation, and you will also do a bit of bone marrow studies. Aside from those, so hematologic malignancies and anemias will also be discussed in hematology. Anyway, please note that your blood, okay, in hematology, your main specimen here is blood, or your main study is blood accordingly. Anyway, let's take a look at the functions of your blood. Number one here is for transport. Please note that your primary function of your blood is to transport substances, to transport oxygen, actually. Anyway, your blood functions to transport oxygen. You have gases, of course. Aside from gases, you have your nutrients. Okay, your blood, it is what you call this? It is the vehicle for the delivery of your nutrients to the rest of your body parts. Aside from that, it transports hormones and also it transports waste going to the excretory organs. Aside from transport, your blood also functions for protection. It functions for protection. Please note that in what you call this, in your blood, you have what you call as your WBCs or your white blood cells, which as your definition in elementary, you call it as your soldiers of the body. And what do they do? They phagocytose or they kill. Accordingly, they kill uh, foreign bodies or foreign microorganisms. And yes, please note that your white blood cells, you have your neutrophils, your eosinophils, your monocytes, and your basophils. Okay, let's include lymphocyte. Okay, they are your WBCs and they function for protection. Okay, they function for protection. They function for immunity accordingly for what you call this, your plasma cells or your lymphocytes. You have your lymphocytes here. They function for what you call this, for immunity somewhat. Anyway, aside from that, your blood functions to regulate. Okay, your blood functions to regulate the pH. the temperature, and the fluid balance accordingly. And yes, it also functions for homeostasis to maintain balance accordingly. Those are just a few function of your blood. Okay, few function of your blood. Please note that for protection here, okay, only stated your cells, but you have actually a lot of proteins that are present in the plasma which can function, okay, which can function for protection. And then, yes, let's take a look at the composition of your blood. Okay, please note that your blood, okay, you have your cells and your plasma. Okay, accordingly, you have your cells and your plasma. No, the plasma is the liquid portion, and of course, you have your formed elements. You have your red cells and the buffy coat. Your red cells and the buffy coat accordingly. For your plasma, it accounts for 55%. This one is 55% of the blood, and then the formed elements, it is 45% of the blood. Okay, for the plasma, of course, the plasma is made of water. It is made of water. And in the plasma, you have what you call as your dissolved substances. You have proteins like albumin and the rest of your proteins. Aside from proteins, you have electrolytes. Aside from electrolytes, you have gases. And of course, you have wastes that is present in the plasma also. And of course, your formed elements, you have your red cells and your buffy coat. Your red cells, it accounts for 45%, and then your buffy coat, it is less than 1%. Your red cells is accordingly termed also as your hematocrit. Anyway, for your Buffy coat here, it is made of your WBCs and your platelets. It is made of your WBCs. I mean, it okay. Yes, it contains your WBCs and your platelets. And then, of course, your red cells, again, this one is your otherwise known as your hematocrit. And the red cells function, or they are responsible for transporting oxygen throughout the body. They are responsible for transporting oxygen throughout the body. And before I forget, please note that the normal adult blood volume is approximately 5 to 6 liters. The normal adult blood volume is approximately 5 to 6 liters accordingly. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Okay, yeah, please note that in this illustration, you have a blood that is anticoagulated. You have a blood that is anticoagulated accordingly. Or let's say, you did perform phlebotomy. Okay, you collected a 5 ml of blood and transferred it into a tube, or transferred it into a violet top tube, or in an anticoagulated tube. You did mix, and then you centrifuge. Okay, so you did mix and you centrifuge. And here are accordingly the fractions. Here are accordingly the fractions. Okay, because please note that there is what you call this, there is another term for the composition of a clotted blood. Okay, there is another term for the composition of a clotted blood. Anyway, what we have here is an anticoagulated blood. This is an anticoagulated blood that is centrifuged. Okay, that is centrifuge. So you have here the portion. This one is your plasma, which accounts for 55% of the whole blood. And then you have your erythrocyte, or you have here your hematocrit, which is 44% of your whole blood. And then you have the buffy coat, which is less than 1% of the whole blood. Anyway, as what we said earlier, your plasma is mainly made of water. Accordingly, the plasma is 92% water. It's 92% water. And you have dissolved solutes present in the plasma. You have the proteins, and then you have solutes, other solutes. Here you have your proteins, albumin, globulin, fibrinogen, and regulatory proteins. Aside from that, you have your electrolytes, your nutrients, your respiratory gases, and waste products. These are all present in the plasma. They are all present in the plasma. And please note that what you call this one is your supernatant. You call this one as the plasma. Okay, and you have the buffy coat. Your buffy coat here. Okay, the buffy coat is what we said earlier. It is made of, or it contains, sorry, it contains your leukocytes or your WBCs and your platelets. Okay, WBCs and your platelets. Please note that the 150 to 400,000 per cubic mm, that is the normal value of your platelet. This one is the normal value of your leukocyte naman. Okay, this one, okay, normal relative value. Okay, normal relative value. These are the normal relative values. For monocytes, okay, it is 2 to 8%, eosinophils 1 to 4%. Anyway, you have your leukocytes, you have your neutrophils, you have your lymphocytes, you have your monocytes, eosinophils, and basophils. Your neutrophils, they are the most numerous of your leukocytes. Okay, they are 50 to 70% of your leukocyte, and then followed by your lymphocyte at 20% to 40%, and then your monocyte, that is third most abundant, or yes, third most numerous leukocyte, and then eosinophil, that is your fourth, and then the least numerous is you have your basophils. You have the basophils, meaning pinakaunti po ang basophil. Anyhow, your erythrocyte is your oxygen, or your, yes, they are responsible for the transport of oxygen throughout the body. And yes, you have here the normal value. It's 4.2 to 6.2 million per cubic mm. This cubic mm can be converted into per microliters. Okay, that is for your blood components, whole blood components. Again, please note, whole blood components. Please note that if you spin, okay, or if you centrifuge a whole blood, these are your composition. Okay, these are the fractions, sorry. Okay, so the fractions, if you spin a whole blood, you have your, what you call this, you will have your plasma, the buffy coat, and then the red cells. Okay, that is for your blood. Anyway, you have here your cells, okay, or your WBCs. You have your neutrophil. Your neutrophil is neutral colored. Okay, you have the lymphocyte, you have your lymphocyte, you have your eosinophil, and then your basophil. Accordingly, here it says that you have granulocyte and agranulocyte. Excuse me. Sorry. Your agranulocyte and granulocyte, or this a classification of WBCs, is based on the presence of granules, based on the presence of granules. So let's take a look, or based on the presence of secondary granules. Anyhow, okay, for your granulocytes, they have granules in the cytoplasm. They have granules in their cytoplasm. For your agranulocytes, they do not have what you call this, they do not have specific granules accordingly. So your granulocytes, they are neutrophils, you are your eosinophils and your basophils. While your agranulocytes, you have your monocyte and your lymphocyte. Anyway, let's move on. Let's take a look at your formation of blood cells. formation of blood cells. Please note that your hematopoiesis or hemopoiesis, okay, hematopoiesis or hemopoiesis, this one is known as, or it is a term, or it is the formation of blood cells from your hematopoietic stem cells. Okay, this is the term, or your hematopoiesis is the formation of blood cells from your hematopoietic stem cells. And please note that the primary site of hematopoiesis is the bone marrow. Bone marrow. It is the bone marrow. But then if you try to go further, or if you try to read, okay, you have your liver, your yolk sac, okay, your spleen. Those items can be, okay, or they can produce bone marrow. But then for an adult, okay, please note, for an adult, okay, for a normal adult, the site, or yes, the site of hematopoiesis is the bone marrow. And yes, please note that this hematopoiesis is regulated by your cytokines and growth factors. It is regulated by your cytokines and growth factors. Sooner, in hematology, when you will take up the course or the major, I mean, yes, the subject, you will learn about these cytokines and your growth factors. Okay, and in hematopoiesis, you have actually lineages. You have your myeloid and lymphoid lineage. Anyhow, you have your erythropoiesis. Your erythropoiesis, this is a blood cell formation. Okay, this is a blood cell production, but it is specific. Okay, it is specific. Your erythropoiesis, this one is the production of red cells. This one is the production of red cells. Red cells in the bone marrow, of course, because yes. Okay, and so we will take a look in the bone marrow for a normal adult. Okay, erythropoiesis. And please note that erythropoiesis is stimulated by your erythropoietin from the kidneys. Your erythropoietin is a hormone that will stimulate the production of red blood cells. And your erythropoietin, this one is produced by your kidneys. This is produced by the kidneys. Okay, please note that this is produced by the kidneys. So, if your kidneys is damaged, the erythropoietin production is affected. Thereby, there is a chance that anemia, or yes, decreased red blood cells will be seen in individuals with a decreased or with a damaged damaged kidneys. Anyway, again, your erythropoietin will stimulate the production of red cells in the bone marrow. And please note that erythropoiesis requires iron. Okay, it requires iron, vitamin B12, and folate. It requires iron, vitamin B12, and folate accordingly. Sooner, when you will take up the subject, okay, and so you will learn about the maturation stages. You will learn about the maturation stages. Please note that your red blood cells, they do not have a nuclei. They do not have a nuclei. Your red blood cells, they do not have a nuclei. During the maturation, the nucleus is extruded. So, yes, your erythrocyte, they are unnucleated. They do not have a nuclei. And then you have your leukopoiesis. Your leukopoiesis, this is the formation of white blood cells, formation, production of your WBCs. Okay, and yes, you have your myeloid and lymphoid lineage here, or cell lines, your myeloid cell line and lymphoid cell line. For your myeloid lineage or or myeloid cell line, okay, it will produce neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils, and monocytes. And then for your lymphoid lineage, you have B cells, T cells, and natural killer cells. And yes, your leukopoiesis is influenced by your colony stimulating factor. It is influenced by your colony stimulating factors. You have a lot. You have your GCSF or MCSF, and your other colony stimulating factor of your thrombopoiesis. Your thrombopoiesis, this is your production of your platelets or thrombocytes. Production of your platelets or your thrombocytes. By the way, according to your references, your platelets or your thrombocytes, they are not real cells. They are not real cells. They are just fragments of your megakaryocyte. Your platelets or your thrombocytes, they are not accordingly real cells. They are just fragments of your giant cell known as megakaryocyte. And please note that this one is regulated by your thrombopoietin. And your platelets or your platelets or your thrombocytes, they are essential for primary hemostasis. They are essential for primary hemostasis or okay, what do you call this, clotting. Anyway, yes, your normal platelet count is 150 to 100 to 400. Okay, 150 to 400,000 cells per CUMM or per microliters. You have here actually an illustration about the origin and differentiation of your cells, of your blood cells. Okay, you have your pluripotent hematopoietic stem cell. Okay, and then you'll have your myeloid and lymphoid cell line and the rest of your cells. Okay, that is for your that is for your blood cell production. Please go over the image. Okay, sooner in your hematology or in your other courses, you will learn about this one in detail, about the maturation stages in detail. Okay, okay, let's take a look at your common test that is done in the hematology section or that is done in the course hematology. You have here your complete blood count. Your complete blood count includes, okay, complete blood count. You're going to count the blood composition, okay, the cellular elements, something like that. Anyway, you have here your RBC count, your hemoglobin, and hematocrit. Aside from that, okay, RBC and DCS are also included in your complete blood count. You have your MCV, MCH, MCHC, and RDW. Okay, and so your MCV, that is your mean cell volume or your mean corpuscular volume. Your MCH is your mean corpuscular hemoglobin, and then your MCHC is your mean corpuscular hemoglobin concentration, and then your RDW, this is your red cell distribution width. Please note that this RBC and DCS, they are calculated. Okay, they are calculated from the following parameters, from these parameters accordingly. And please note that in complete blood count, these are included. These indices, they are included. They should be included in the report. Anyhow, aside from your red cell count, your WBC count and differential is also included in CBC. Aside from that, you have your platelet count. The platelet count is also included. Okay, and so of course you're going to count. You're going to count using your hemocytometer, your hemocytometer. Count your red cells manually, of course, okay, because our laboratory, our what you call this, our laboratory at 609, okay, we do not have automated cell analyzers for CBC. We only have hemocytometer, or we do manual counting at 609, at B609. Anyway, okay, so you have the following. These ones are included in your complete blood count report. And then you have your peripheral blood smear, your PBS, or your peripheral blood smear. This, you're going to evaluate the morphology of your red blood cells, your WBCs, as well as your platelets. Okay, yes. In this one, you need to prepare a wedge type smear. Okay, you should have a feathered edge smear. Okay, and so for PBS. And yes, after that, you air dry the smear and then stain with Wright's or GEMSA stain, and examine under the microscope using the oil immersion objective. Using the oil immersion objective. Yes, you identify abnormalities. If there are, you identify, yes, you evaluate or identify if there are anisocytosis or variations in size. Your anisocytosis is variation in size. And then poikilocytosis, variation in poikilocyte. Yes, if there are poikilocyte, okay, variations in sizes, and inclusion bodies if there are. Okay, for your peripheral blood smear. Okay, and yes, it is essential for correlating complete blood count result. But please note that for some institution, yeah, in the real setting, for some institution, releasing results of your PBS or reading PBS for to have an official result is done by a pathologist. Okay, for some hospitals or for some institutions, evaluation, microscopic evaluation of your peripheral blood smear for an official result, okay, for an official result is done by a pathologist. It is done by a pathologist. Anyway, that is your PBS. So let's take a look at your wedge smear preparation. You have your wedge smear preparation. Anyway, please note that this one is otherwise known as your push smear. Okay, and yes, how is this done? It is prepared by spreading a drop of blood across a slide using another slide at an angle, producing a feathered edge that is suitable for microscopic evaluation. Okay, that is suitable for microscopic evaluation. And yes, this is the most common, or this is the preferred, okay, the preferred smear in the hematology section. And yes, okay, what is the use of wedge smear preparation? To evaluate your red blood cell, RBC, WBC, and platelet morphology. Aside from that, to perform differential count for WBC, to perform differential count for WBC. And yes, okay, it is also your wedge type is also done to assess what you call this, to assess or to evaluate or to detect, okay, blood parasites like malaria, okay, like malaria. Okay, so first year, okay, is you need a slide. You need to prepare your slide. Of course, okay, the slide should be clean and grease-free. The slide should be clean and grease-free. Please note you need to have two, okay, one stationary slide and one spreader slide. This is your spreader. This is your stationary slide. Okay, and then place a drop of blood or a small drop or one drop of blood at the near the frosted end, approximately 1 centimeter from the frosted end. Okay, and accordingly, the ideal diameter is 2 to 3. Okay, the ideal diameter is 2 to 3 millimeters. Okay, because if you have a large drop of blood, you will have a too thick smear. If you have a large drop, you will have a too thick, masyadong makapal. If you have a too small drop, then you will have a, what you call this, then you will have a thin and short, okay, thin and short smear. Okay, after placing the drop of blood, you position the spreader slide at an angle of 30 to 45 degrees. Okay, at an angle of 30 to 45 degrees. Ganito po dapat siya. Okay, at this image. Again, hold the spreader slide at a 30 to 45 degree angle in front of the drop of blood. And then, okay, and so pull the spreader back to touch the drop of blood. Okay, and so once the drop of blood or once the spreader slide touches the drop of blood, then allow it to spread along the edge. Parang ganito na siya. The blood will spread here. Okay, and then after that, you push the spreader slide. Okay, you push the spreader slide in one smooth, swift motion. Okay, and so you push the spreader slide forward. Okay, forward in one smooth, okay, and quick motion, of course. Please note one smooth, quick motion. Okay, do not stop mid-stroke to avoid streaks or ridges. Okay, that is for your wedge. That is for your wedge smear preparation. Okay, and then after that, of course, you allow the blood to air dry, or allow the blood to dry, or yes, to dry. And yes, please note that this is accordingly. Okay, and so this one is a diagrammatic illustration. Anyway, this is a diagrammatic illustration. Sabi niya dito, you have this one is the feathered edge, then you have the monolayer portion, and then this is the body of the smear. At this portion, you have the red blood cells are, or the cells, they are, yes, they are overlapping. Okay, and then you have a monolayer, and then you have your feathered edge. Okay, you have your feathered edge. This is your application point. Of course, this is your label. Okay, that is, yes. And ideally, it should be feathered edge. The smear should be feathered edge, not a bullet end, not a bullet type smear, not a bullet type smear. Okay, that is for your wedge smear preparation. Of course, you will learn the technique when you will go to hematology. Okay, you will learn more about this when you'll go to hematology. And then, of course, you have right staining. Stain using your right stain. First day, I mean, yes, for your right stain, you're going to apply stain, of course, to your blood. Or first thing is you need to prepare a smear. Okay, you did prepared a wedge type smear and then you stain using right stain. Please note that your right stain, this one is a Romanowski type polychromatic stain that is used to differentiate your blood cells. Okay, to differentiate your blood cells. Okay, that is used to differentiate your blood cells. Okay, that is the use of your right staining. It is utilized to evaluate peripheral blood smears. Okay, it is utilized to evaluate peripheral blood smear. Please note that this one is the most commonly utilized stain in the hematology section. Okay, aside from that, to evaluate peripheral blood smears, to evaluate anisocytosis or poikilocytosis in red cells, ganyan. Aside from that, it is utilized for WBC differential. WBC differential. And then, okay, yes, to examine platelet number and morphology. To examine platelet number and morphology. accordingly. Okay, this one, your right stain is also utilized to stain bone marrow aspirates or bone marrow aspirates. Okay, based on, of course, the request of the doctor. Okay, based on the request of the doctor. Your right stain, it contains an acid dye, which is your eosin. This one is your acid dye. And then your methylene blue is a basic dye. Please note your eosin is an acid dye and your methylene blue is an alkaline or a basic dye. Please note that the acid dye, okay, your acid dye or the eosin stains basic components of the blood. Okay, again, your eosin or yes, your eosin or the acid dye stains basic components of the blood, while the basic dye or the methylene blue, which is the basic dye, stains stains acidic components. Okay, this methylene blue stains acidic components. What are the acidic components present in the cell? You have your nuclei. Your nuclei is an acidic. Okay, it has RNA. It has DNA. Sorry, it has DNA. Okay, that is actually the principle of your right staining. Your eosin, it has an affinity or the acid dye has an affinity to the basic components. The basic dye has an affinity to the acidic components of the cell. And your eosin, it stains the cytoplasm. Okay, your eosin stains the cytoplasm, and then your methylene blue stains your nuclei. It stains the nuclei. Okay, it stains the nuclei. Anyway, okay, your methanol here is utilized to fix. Okay, your methanol here is utilized to fix the smear. Okay, is utilized to fix the smear. And yes, after fixation using the methanol, please note that usually it is less than 15 seconds. Okay, fixation with methanol, okay, takes less than 15 seconds. But then it depends on the SOP or the policy of the laboratory. After with methanol, you dip the smear in eosin. You dip the smear in eosin. And after in eosin, you dip in methylene blue. And then after in methylene blue, you rinse with distilled water. Okay, please note that the time differs per institution. Some will have 15 dips, or some will have 30 seconds, some will have 15 seconds, something like that. Okay. But then please note that the sequence should be methanol followed by eosin and then methylene blue and then you rinse with distilled water and air dry. And after air drying, you read or you examine under the microscope. You examine under the microscope. So here are the expected staining results. For your red blood cells, they are stained pink to salmon. Okay, pink to salmon or salmon pink. Okay, for or salmon pink. And then the nuclei, please note, sabi ko kanina, your red blood cells, they are unnucleated or they do not have a nuclei. Kaya makikita nyo, what they have is a central pallor. What they have is a central pallor. Okay, because your red cells, they are discoid or discoid in shape. Okay, they are discoid in shape. They don't have a nuclei. Anyway, your your red cells, they are stained pink to salmon. They do not have a nuclei. They only have a central pallor. And then you have your nuclei, the nuclei of your WBCs. They are stained purple to blue violet. They are stained purple to blue violet. These are nuclei actually. Okay, yung mga yan, these are nuclei or nucleus. Okay, multi-lobed nuclei. And then, yes, the neutrophil of your, I mean, the granules of your neutrophil, they are stained, okay, the granules of your neutrophil, they are stained lilac, okay, or purple. They are stained purple. Your eosinophils, the granules, okay, or the cytoplasm, the granules present in the cytoplasm is stained as bright orange red. Okay, orange red. And then for your basophils, the granules, they are stained dark blue black. They are stained dark blue black. And your platelets, these are your platelets. Your platelets, okay, they have light blue cytoplasm with purple granules accordingly. Okay, that is for your lymphocyte. The nuclei is stained, yes, okay, purple or blue black. Okay, that is for your neutrophil. I mean, that is for the nuclei. Okay, this one is your monocyte. Okay, this is your monocyte. Please note that your neutrophil and your monocyte, they do not have, they are agranular accordingly, or they are agranulocyte. Anyway, okay, that is for your light staining. Let's take a look at your hemostasis. Please note that your hemostasis, this is the physiological process of stopping bleeding. Okay, physiological process of stopping blood bleeding or stopping hemorrhage. And it is done, or it is a mechanism of the body to protect or to prevent the loss and exsanguination of blood. Okay, it also what you call this, restores blood circulation within the blood vessels because it prevents escape of blood. Prevents, sorry, it prevents escape of blood from the blood vessels. Okay, and yes, just a brief overview about your hemostasis. You have your primary hemostasis, and then you have your secondary hemostasis. Your primary hemostasis is what we call this, composed of your platelets and the vessel wall. Okay, it is composed of your platelets and the vessel wall. While your secondary hemostasis is composed of your coagulation proteins. Composed of your coagulation proteins, your coagulation cascade. Excuse me. And yes, please note part of your hemostasis is fibrinolysis, wherein there is this breaking down of your clot. There is breaking down of your clot. And yes, there should be a balance between the two, between the hemostasis and fibrinolysis to prevent bleeding and thrombosis. Okay, there should be a balance between the two, okay, between the hemostasis and fibrinolysis to prevent bleeding and thrombosis because both of this one, bleeding is not good. Okay, thrombosis is not also good. Okay, because thrombosis, if it, yes, because thrombosis, there is a high chance that it will block the blood circulation. Okay, there is a high chance that it will block the blood circulation. Anyway, okay, just to give you an overview, an idea about coagulation na sinasabi natin, please note, your coagulation pathway, you have, okay, you will learn this one in HEMA 2. You will learn this one in HEMA 2. Please note, you have your coagulation pathways. You have actually your intrinsic pathway and your common pathways. Please note that these are actually factors. These are your coagulation factors. Okay, for intrinsic pathway, you have factors 12 and the following, and then extrinsic, you have the following, and common pathways, you have the following. And please note, you have tests to check. Okay, you have tests for this one, which is, or which will be discussed further in hematology 2. Okay, and you have your hematologic disorders. You have your hematologic disorders. Okay, you have your anemias, you have your leukemias, okay, lymphomas. Okay, you have your blood dyscrasias. You have your dyscrasia. Okay, you have your dyscrasia. Anyway, you have, when you say anemia, Okay, when you say anemia, going back to what you know, what you've learned about your terminologies, you have AN or A means uh, absent. But then or absent. Anyway, but then anemias, it doesn't mean that there is an absence of production. Okay, but most of your anemias naman, there is a hypoproduction. Okay, there is a hypoproduction. Anyway, your anemia, this is characterized by a decrease in the number of red blood cells. Okay, decrease in the number of red blood cells, hemoglobin concentration, or hematocrit. Okay, if there is a decrease in the number of red cells or hemoglobin, it will cause a reduction in the oxygen. I mean, it will cause a reduced oxygen delivery to the tissues. Because again, your red blood cells, they are responsible in delivering oxygen to your peripheral tissues. So in anemia, you have a decreased red blood cell. The problem here is red blood cell and its components. Okay, and then you have leukemia. Leukemia, this is accordingly a malignant proliferation of hematopoietic cells in the bone marrow. Okay, malignant. Para cancer. Parang ganun po. Leukemia is a malignant proliferation of hematopoietic cells in the bone marrow, which leads to excessive production of abnormal WBCs. Okay, so in leukemia, there is an increased abnormal white blood cells. Okay, which is released into the peripheral blood. That is for your leukemia. Anemia, on the other hand, there is a decrease in the red blood cells in the PBS or in the peripheral circulation. Okay, that is for your leukemia. And then you have your lymphoma. Your lymphoma here is a group of malignancy that arises from your lymphoid tissues. Okay, that arises from your lymphoid tissues. And yes, they typically present as a solid tumors in the lymph nodes or extranodal sites. Your lymphomas originate from B cells, T cells, or natural killer cells. Aside from your lymphomas, from your anemias, you have your thrombocytopenia or platelet disorders. Thrombocytopenia, when you say penia, there is a decrease or reduction. So thrombocytopenia, there is a reduction in platelet count below the normal range, which of course will impair primary hemostasis and will increase the risk of bleeding. Please note that soon, okay, as you get into HEMA 2 or HEMA 1, you will learn about these anemias. You have a lot actually of these blood disorders. Aside from thrombocytopenia, you have thrombocytosis. When you say cytosis naman, there is an increased or elevated platelet count. Thrombocytosis, you have an elevated platelet count. Okay, elevated platelet count. And yes, okay, the platelet present may be abnormal or maybe not functional, malfunctional. Okay, so yes, example of anemia, you have iron deficiency anemia. Okay, because sabi natin earlier, iron is needed for erythropoiesis. Okay, so iron deficiency anemia is an example of a very good example of anemia. Megaloblastic anemia. What else? Hemolytic anemia. Okay, and the rest of your anemias. For your leukemias, of course, uh, you have a lot actually. Also, you have your uh, you have for your leukemia, you have your acute myeloid, acute lymphoid, and the rest of your leukemias. You have actually a lot also. And yes, you will learn about this one. You will learn about these blood cell disorders or hematologic disorders soon as you go to hematology. And then, yes, you have your uh, activities that are expected to be done in hematology. Okay, of course, you have your complete blood count, hematocrit, hemoglobin hematocrit. You can either do your microhematocrit, and then platelet count, smear preparation and staining, evaluation of the red cell morphology. You will also do erythrocyte sedimentation rate, osmotic fragility test, RBC indices, retic count. What else? Instrumentation. Okay, yeah, those items, quality assurance and quality control. And then, yes, you will do peripheral blood smear, identification of abnormal red blood cell and WBC, okay, identification of your anisocyte, poikilocyte, and then abnormal WBC. Special staining techniques, okay, coagulation factor tests. You will do coagulation time, bleeding time, activated partial thromboplastin time, prothrombin time, clot retraction time, and the rest. By the way, for hematology 2, it usually, the course coverage is hemostasis. Okay, principles of hemostasis and abnormalities involving red blood cells, WBCs, and platelets. So in Hema 2, you will learn about the anemias, the leukemias, okay, the classification, as well as you will learn also about platelet disorders in Hema 2. Okay, in Hema 2. Okay, yes, for Hema 2, more on hemostasis. More on, yes, you will do coagulation time, what do you call this, bleeding time, APTT, and the rest. Okay, so that is for your, okay, by the way, for your references, hematology references, of course, you have your Steininger, as well as your Rodax, and don't forget your Henry. Okay, Steininger. Okay, your reference books, you have Steininger, Rodax, and you have Henry's. Okay, don't forget those references. So I guess we will end here. Let's continue some other time. And this has been Gael, reminding you to live fully, love deeply, laugh often, keep learning, and never forget to enjoy the ride. And as you move forward, may you always choose curiosity over fear, kindness over convenience, and growth over comfort. Celebrate your small victories, honor your quiet moments, and trust that every step, no matter how uncertain, shapes the story you are meant to tell. The world is wide, your time is precious, and your journey is uniquely yours. Go make it extraordinary. Thank you so much. Thank you, and see you around.